What's up, Sonic movie fans, and welcome to episode 109 of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that reviews all video game movies. I think that'll be our new intro for these types of episodes, because usually on the Sonic Movie Show, we talk about Sonic news, movie news, and Sonic movie news. My name is Ethan, and with me here to talk about this movie, I don't have anything funny to say, is Devin.
Trust me, I'm as shocked as you are, buddy.
I actually remember where that line's from. Leon.
I had to really
Kennedy
I had to
says
repeat that in my head like 40 times to make sure I remembered it. And then when we were sitting right before I sat down, I'm like, "Fuck, what did he say?" And I might have still butchered it, but I just know it's close enough.
That's right, because you couldn't pause or you couldn't write it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember throughout the movie, it was either that or I was going to do Itchy, what was it?
Itchy Tasty?
Itchy Tasty. I was going to do that one. That was until he said, "Trust me, I'm as shocked as you are, buddy." I'm like, that's the one.
It was so hard for me to read the Itchy Tasty, rating in blood, because when it first pops up, it's the zombie ladies on the outside window, but I couldn't tell if it was reversed or not, so I'm trying to read it both ways, and I'm like, I can't read
Shoot
this.
their limbs.
Exactly. Or what fucking game was I playing? Deathloop. I was playing that a little bit last night, and one of the graffitis just says it's too fucking cold, and I'm like, honestly, yeah, if I was pissed and cold and I had paint, I would probably write that too.
I would save that because he might be able to use it like a flamethrower, and he can start a fire like that. Keep
True.
yourself warm.
True.
See, that person ain't thinking. They ain't thinking.
I don't think it was spray paint though. I think it was actual paint.
Or was it
you
blood?
don't want to burn that.
The classic is when it's blood, right?
It's true. It's
You're
true.
I have so much blood pouring out of me, or I killed someone, that I'm going to take the effort and time to be like, we're the real villains.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about Raccoon City. Welcome to Resident Evil, aka Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City. The 2021 November Resident Evil film that just came out. We watched it. I watched it today as of this recording. Devin watched it last night.
Yesterday evening, yeah.
This movie, we don't have any box office stuff for it yet. I don't have any budget stuff for this as of yet, but this is, I guess, the third attempt at Resident Evil movies. We had the Paul W.S. Anderson stuff. During that, there was direct-to-video, CG stuff Capcom was producing or whatever. And then now there's this, a new live-action thing. Completely different than all those Paul W.S. Anderson stuff. I think very clearly from the trailers, it looks like it's obviously trying to at least represent a game in
or closer
something,
to the source material than the other
right?
stuff.
Whereas the Paul W.S. Anderson stuff, the Polyverse, I'm going to call it that.
The Polyverse?
The Polyverse
you say that, but I don't know if you saw in the credits, he was an executive producer.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, fuck, they let Paul back?
A producer is different.
Still,
But
they had him in an email at some point.
Maybe it might have been contractually obligated. Hey, you can't do anything unless I'm in there. Because executive producer, Vin Diesel was executive producer on Hitman. That was literally a no for nothing. So,
I'm just saying, considering his ties
sure.
to the other movies, I still felt that it was okay, we're trying to do this reboot. We're gonna have a guy come back who has made a bunch, whether you think they're good or bad. I'm just saying, if you're trying to do a reboot, I would probably not have anybody affiliated with the other ones, unless they were a fan. I'm saying, the fans love him. Do the fans really love Paul W.S. Anderson? I don't know.
I'd like to imagine this was the Vin Diesel thing where it's really just a name only, some contractual obligation. Yeah. And he walks onto set halfway through and he's like, "Where the fuck is Alice? Where's my wife?
Where's my wife?" But he starts trying to tell the director, he's like, where's the clones? There's supposed to be multiple clones of
exactly.
My wife.
And then they all die immediately. So we don't have to deal with that anymore. God.
I imagine he comes up to the set with a full 40-page script. But it's all
exactly.
But it's not in a book. It's the old sticky notes where you can make a whole,
they're flipped back and
slinky
forth.
Of paper. I just imagine it's like that where he has it
They're like
oh, this is
vaguely
storyboarded.
What scene we on?
Oh, scene 8. Is this scene 8? They're like, no, this is a different thing, Paul.
I can see him walking into the writers' room as they're wrapping up. They're like, okay, so you're ending the movie. I need you just trust me, guys, right now. However you're ending this movie, ignore that when you make the second one. You're going to start completely differently when you make the second one. You know what? Nuke the whole planet. Do that in between the movies.
Honestly, you could blow up this whole Earth, and then you do a sequel, and you just pretend that the Earth is back. They fixed it.
T-Virus is back, baby.
It's back.
I'm glad that this movie represents the video games better than the Polyverse does. Because I always got the impression that they were like almost embarrassed of the video games in a sense. They need to do their own thing in ways that are so different than what the games are. And this movie seems to cover vaguely Resident Evil 1 and more so Resident Evil 2.
I was going to say, that's to me, like, I played Resident Evil 2. I have a general knowledge of Resident Evil 1. I feel like it was a good combination of both without it being
same.
Hey, we're just showing the plot from the game instead of it's like, hey, we're taking the source material, we're changing things up. There might be some similarities from the game's plot. There might be some references or whatnot. So I think at the very least, we can't knock them for trying at least pulling from the game compared to what the Polyverse did.
Right.
Or from the very beginning, we liked the first Resident Evil movie generally. It really was like that movie. You could have called it anything else, like a zombie outbreak or something like that.
Yeah,
probably wouldn't have changed anything. Like that.
Exactly.
The only Resident Evil references I think in that were like
Umbrella Corporation and zombies.
Yeah, there was
no named people.
No.
Or did they? I think they teased Nemesis at the end by turning her friend into Nemesis.
Yeah.
So that was like the ending. Oh, Nemesis. Besides that name drop, it's just Umbrella Corporation. And then obviously as we go on
to like just make up a different one, and like you would have never known it was like based off Resident Evil
for that first one. Then they started adding in the named characters, but they weren't really the same types of people. And you know what I mean? Like So, but this is definitely very much related to those first two video games. Some things are changed, Jill Valentine, Chris Redfield, they're just Raccoon Police Department detectives and not part of STARS, that task force. So like, sure, it's like some of this stuff actually does feel like if we put ourselves in that like 2001 mindset of like, we don't really want to go full on what the games are because we feel like that's not grounded enough and it might alienate people. Let's try to make a compromise. This movie feels like it has enough of those compromises. Obviously, we know you can go fucking batshit in movies like this and it would still sell. You know what I mean? But if you're in that mindset, I feel like this is probably what it would have been if they were brave enough to actually make the movie based off the games. But some little things, but I just wanted to say before we really start, I was actually impressed
and whatnot, because I was going to say, we haven't really said anything too spoilery.
Spoilers, just one thing I do want to say, if you're a Resident Evil fan, I mean, I guess you will decide if you like this movie or not based off things, because if you're a Resident Evil fan, you've played more things than Dev and I. I should also mention, Dev and I basically have the same Resident Evil, like, experience, dabbled in a few of the games as children, but recently played Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I know a little bit about the first one.
I played a little bit of 4 when I was younger.
Exactly.
But I had the box set, the Veronica.
Code Veronica X.
Yeah, I played like an hour of that because it was hard for me as a 13-year-old to figure out how the game worked. But
I played Village this year. Completely different, obviously. This one's modern day in that game or whatever. But what I do appreciate, at least from my knowledge of 2 and a little bit of what I know of the first game, a lot of direct shot for shot like attempts at recreating things,
definitely,
which I think is pretty neat.
Throughout. There's definitely a couple parts that I'm like, oh, this thing that happens, like very similar, just different scenery a little bit, but like this happens in the game.
Exactly, 100%. So so I will say, overall, I enjoyed this movie. I felt that like I didn't really care too much about the characters, unfortunately, and really feel connected to them too much. I feel like the way they handled one character in particular, I felt a little let down by. I'm sure you feel the same way when we talk more spoileries.
I know, yeah.
But overall, I mean, like I enjoyed this. I don't know if I'd say this is a better movie overall. I'm not really that type of person, but I enjoyed this movie more than any of the other Resident Evil things that we've watched.
Thank you. As as it was coming out of the theater, honestly, it was like halfway through. I'm like, this is Resident Evil. Way more than any of the other Resident Evil movies we've watched. Not seeing the other Resident Evil movies are like, you can't like those, or like, I think they're good as their own thing, but they're really not from the Resident Evil source material. Really, they're just action movies with a couple characters from the games at moments. Like, really, that's all it is, which is cool, awesome. You can like it, you can hate it, whatever. But to me, I'm like, at the very least, this felt like Resident Evil, and I feel like they tried their best to capture what those, at least the first two games are, which is very, very like dark, creepy, mysterious, like what's going on, than what even like the first Resident Evil movie was. And I just, overall, I'm like, I think it's my favorite Resident Evil movie, even though I don't think the threshold was that high to beat.
Right.
But I'm like, to me, I'm like, oh, this was cool. There's a lot of cool shit in this that I really dug.
Yeah.
Really dug in this.
For sure.
I'm glad I saw this in the theater too, by the way. I just want to point that out, because there's a lot of moments I think horror movies in general, people who like shit on horror movies that they're not scary, usually watch them at home and they don't have a great sound system. Horror movies rely a lot on sound to add to their editing or whatnot to try to get you spooky and scary. There was a couple moments where I'm like, this is good. This is spooky. I like this. So like, and I didn't have that ever in the other Resident Evil movies, but granted, I didn't see those in theaters, so maybe that would have changed for me. But overall, like, there was only a couple moments in all the Resident Evil movies we've watched where I'm like, okay, this I would say is scary. Compared to this movie, I thought there was more scares in this one compared to those. Okay. So +1 there too.
It's interesting you talk about the audio, because I feel like the sound mixing was off in some parts for me, where it was trying to immediately go super loud for effect, and it just felt like almost... There's one scene early on where music starts playing while something obscene is happening that a character doesn't know what's going on until this moment, type of thing. And it's trying to play it for effect, but I'm like, this is like way too loud. I don't know. There's a couple instances like that, but yeah, I mean, like, I'm glad I saw it in the theater as well. Did you see this at an AMC?
Yeah.
Did you see the weird Nicole Kidman "Please come back to the movie theaters" ad?
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing that for a couple. I think they do it before every movie.
Okay,
now, but
this is my first movie I've seen since Black Widow in theaters.
Yeah, they've been doing that for a while.
I just find it so funny, but because it's like ad after ad after ad, and then the movie finally starts.
Her speech isn't bad either until the very end. Like, the last sentence is like, "AMC, would you movies better?" And I'm like, no, you end it. Don't end it there. Just you didn't add that sentence. You're hyping me up. And then you added the sentence, AMC. I'm like, I get it. You're okay. Well,
I'm not just talking about any movie theater in general. You're supposed to come back to the one you're in right now.
Yeah.
I'm Nicole Kidman. I was in Australia, the movie Australia. I enjoyed this movie. You enjoyed this movie. Let's talk spoilers now. We always talk spoilers when we do these episodes, but I think for what we kind of did with this, or we want to do with this and the Monster Hunter movie, and I guess technically Mortal Kombat, try to keep spoiler free and then go spoilers just in case. But assume, obviously, if you're going to be listening to our podcast from now on, which obviously you are, assume we're spoiling all of these video game movies, in these episodes. So spoilers, we can jump in many different directions. We could also try to recap. There's a bunch of different things. I
kind of want to talk about the cast just in general, like how we feel
give me your cast.
About the characters. Well, first I want to point out he's one of the main characters, but they only show him a couple times. Our boy actor Neil Mcdonough, who was in the Sonic movie for a brief second, he's the one that Jim Carrey makes fun of when he comes off the...
that's how I recognize his face.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of other like TV shows and whatnot. But Neil Mcdonough, he plays William Birkin, who we know is one of the evil scientists who's who knew about like that shit was going down. He tries to go back to save his work. I mean, he was fine, but I just when I saw him, like, where is he from? Then I had to look it up too, and I'm like, oh, he's a fucking Sonic. Of course he is.
Of course, yeah, I recognized him too, and I'm like, huh,
dude. I mean, if he's the new video game movie actor, we'll take him. We'll take him anything. So that was William Birkin. I mean, I'll go to the main ones now. Kaya Scodelario plays Claire Redfield, who I thought she was the best one in my opinion, and I'm glad it was much more about her story than it was. About other characters, especially Leon, who we like Leon in the games. He's usually he is the main character, I'd say, in those games from all the games he's in.
He's in 2, 4, and 6.
Yeah, but he was played by Avon Jogia, but it's not his fault. I think he played what he needed to do correctly.
Sure,
I just don't like that they made him kind of a like clumsy cop.
Like he really was like a rookie idiot. Yeah, like in this
I like
movie.
in the games where he's like, no, it's my first day on the job, but like I know what I'm doing still.
Right, exactly. I'm confused. I have no idea what's going on. I can stay a little calm.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I agree. I'm glad this is a Claire Redfield focused story, simply because I wouldn't have wanted his story like this.
Yeah.
You know, he isn't like a super ultra badass. That doesn't come until Resident Evil 4 when he's very campy, gotta protect the president's daughter type of, Leon. But in this one, the game Resident Evil 2, not as like crazy badass, but still not like making mistakes. You know what I mean? And see, I'm with you there, and I didn't like the hair. It just felt weird. They were able to capture, it feels like everyone else's look.
Yeah, maybe they were trying to do the hair, because Leon's haircut in the game is goofy. If you try to put it in like in real life, I think maybe that's one of the reasons they decided against it. I have a feeling they had to have tried it. Just like I feel like it would have been crazy to think that they were like, no, from the very beginning.
Maybe just this guy. What's this guy's name?
Avon Jogia. Jogia.
Maybe Avon just has so much fucking curls in his hair that no matter how much hairspray they use, it couldn't stay straight.
Yeah.
So they're like, you know what? Fuck it.
Or maybe they thought a wig would look bad, because sometimes we've seen some bad wigs in some bad video game movies. So at the very least, I'm not gonna like. I think it's more for me. My issue is that his character isn't what he is in the games.
Yeah.
But I thought Claire Redfield is much more badass than from what it seems like she's in the games. And if anything, like she seems to know what she's doing from the very beginning. Even when things are a shock, she's like, I'm prepared for it. She's like killing zombie dogs and shit. Like, she rides her motorcycle, not her brother's motorcycle that she steals, which is cool. But and then if anything, the whole story revolves around her and how she was going to be tested on. I'm like, that's cool. I thought that was a cool little twist, even though it wasn't a huge twist, but like it made sense once. It wasn't like, oh my god, like she's behind it all or something like that. But just it was a good twist generally. Chris Redfield was played by Robbie Amell. Then Tom Hopper played Albert Wesker, who I've seen in so much other shit, and I have to look it up to see. Oh yeah, Black Sails, Game of Thrones, Vikings. Okay, yeah, he's done like all the big HBO
Ancient
TV
Times
shows. Yeah, Umbrella Academy. He's also in. He's in the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, but not the Hitman
So
movie.
he went to the Umbrella Academy and then went to work for Umbrella. Nice.
Yeah, but he's been in a lot of like TV shows and stuff. So. I thought he was great in it as a kind of like mercenary kind of guy. And Jill Valentine was Hannah John Kamen. What else has she done? She was in Ant-Man and the Wasp as Ghost.
Okay, that's where I've seen her then. Because I knew she looked familiar. Just briefly about Jill Valentine. Characterization also different for this one. Mm-hmm. Very much maybe not an overcompensation type of I'm super cool and great and badass. That they might have been doing, but her characterization in the games is way more like, I guess, honestly, a lot more like Leon, like calm, collected, still can be confused, but like, okay, getting through this. And in Resident Evil 3 Remake, which I haven't played, but I've seen some clips of, just has this attitude of I'm sick of this shit. Like I've already gone through one of these fucking games type of stuff. A little bit different personality rather in this movie, but like not unwarranted. The fact that she was in this movie at all was a surprise to me. I guess I wouldn't have expected it. Again, from the trailers, which I didn't really rewatch trailers, and I think I saw maybe one of
we talked about
possibly
in one of our
many
episodes about what we saw in it.
Yeah,
and kind of. I feel like we're a little bit off from what we predicted, but
it looked like it was pretty much just Resident Evil 2 in the trailer that I remember. So I was surprised to see, oh yeah, they do go to the mansion. You know what I mean? They do some of that stuff. So, okay.
Yeah, but those are all our main actors. But overall, I thought the cast was good. There's no character or actor that I felt like did a bad job. I think my beef is more of just like, the biggest one obviously is Leon Kennedy with just, we don't like how his character was written. But it has nothing to do with his acting, nothing to do with his execution, in my opinion. And in the end, he kind of became the hero in the end, which I thought was cool. I like the rocket launcher at the end, and and I like how
kind of what you do at the end of Resident Evil 2, at least the remake.
Yeah, once he grabbed it, I'm like, okay, cool.
I remember the final boss fight where you're just using a rocket launcher over and over again.
Yeah.
Let's give a shout out to actually, in my opinion, good CG of our G virus freak monster at the end there. I love the eyeballs.
Yeah, it looked great.
I fucking like that. I thought it looked pretty damn good.
The tongue guy.
The liquor. Then
there was some bad CGI with like the dog. I thought the dog did not look good at moments. Not all the time. There was a couple, I think once they put him in like the light, that's why a lot of these horror movies love, another reason why they love the dark is because you can hide CGI a lot better in the dark, especially if it's bad. Or if you're on a lower budget. I wouldn't say bad.
It's also why they did really well back in the day on VHS because the colors were awful. So it was easier to not be able to see shit, and it made things scarier.
Yeah. But no, I loved, I don't know what's her cast name, but yeah, whoever played the creepy zombie girl, not zombie,
Lisa, I think was her name, maybe. I think there was a file that said Lisa.
Yeah. Oh, she. Okay, so the actor is Marina Mazeppa, and she's been in a bunch of like horror movies, and it looks like she plays like monsters and stuff. I'm like, that's fucking cool.
Oh,
that's your job.
okay.
Like, you get to be like deformed monsters and whatnot. Like, she's in *Malignant*, which I really loved this year. *Girl in the Woods*. She's called the Echo, which sounds like a creature of some sort. *The Unholy*. She's a Mary of Elnor entity. Something like that's cool that she plays like a ghost. So hey, I would love that job. If someone could help me get into the world of acting and I'll just be monsters, I would do that.
Okay. Speaking about ghosts of the past, how much do you think Sony Pictures had to pay to get that episode of Golden Girls on that TV?
Well, actually, there's an Easter egg that I really enjoyed in that same scene. I don't know if you noticed in the poster in the back, it had a poster for first aid spray. And it was the first aid spray from the game. And I'm like, that's neat.
I didn't notice
that.
It
said like something about like best in the business, something like to that effect, where it was like,
damn,
this is a good first aid spray. And it was like right behind her, but it was kind of in the dark, but I could just see the first aid spray, and it said below it, first aid. But
I was looking for stuff like that. I was looking for the little Mr. Raccoon bobblehead things, and I was also looking for a potted herb. I was looking to see if there was just some stupid green herb in a plant pot.
Well, they did have the one key that they used to go to the secret vault. What was the Clover one?
Clover?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, cool. I like shit like that where it doesn't have to be so like, hey guys, look, it's a reference. Like, no, it's just a quick little thing. Like
Wesker playing the piano, which I'm pretty sure is in Resident Evil 1.
And then also when Leon is sitting at the desk there, the poster, like the painting behind him, is a painting of one of the statue, which you have to figure out to get to that secret. So instead of there actually being a statue, it's just a painting of one. And I'm like, that's a little neat. Where like
they got the lobby down pretty well too.
Yeah, I like that they didn't pull the exact layout. They just kind of did their own thing, as if this was like in an alternate universe. And I always like when our video game movies do that, where it's like not directly the thing, it's like a reference, but like not in your face. If you're a fan of it, you'll see it. If not, it still looks cool.
A couple other things I noticed too, probably easier things. The truck crashes same way.
Game. Yep.
And we also basically open up with a very up close and gross cheeseburger shot.
That's right. He does open with
and the trailer. I'm pretty sure it was the trailer for the original or trailer for the remake. Like introduced with that as well, or something like that.
Like
one of the trailers did.
They like how
that gross.
Well, it's the whole
close.
like the zombies are eating flesh and like you're eating, beef and whatnot. I think there's like that kind of trying to get in your head, being like, oh, not saying like they're pro vegan or something like that, but more of just like, hey, we're like people eat flesh. Like do you ever think about what you're eating a little bit? You know what I mean? I think it's kind of like that where it's just makes you think about it a little bit.
What else?
I'm trying to think of other random Easter eggs that we saw.
I do like the fact that they didn't feel the need to make it modern day. It's still 1998.
Great year.
That's one of the things I appreciate about Resident Evil as a game series is like, no, like those things happened in the 90s. Then we move forward in time and forward in time and forward in time. Remake could have been set modern day, but no, they made those 98 and whenever Resident Evil 3 was, which would have been probably 99 or 2000. I think 99. Like they were like that. This movie, 98. Motherfucker gets a Palm Pilot in his locker and he says, "What is this?" It's this futuristic thing to him.
I like all the Sony shit in it. Like obviously they produced it, but like I just thought it was funny that like they had the Sony headphones and whatnot. And I kind of like in an indirect way they were basically like showing even back then that like they had noise cancellation down, that he couldn't hear shit outside of a truck crashing. Like I didn't think like as I'm happy, I'm like, is this indirectly a big commercial of like how great Sony's noise cancellation is even in the 90s. It was great. Or like he didn't hear a burning truck outside. He didn't hear the zombie literally walking in. I thought that was great.
I wonder if there was a PS1 somewhere in the background too.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that wouldn't have been it, or even like even put the classic in. No one would have gave a shit. Like just throw that in there, like on one of the bookshelves or something. Yeah, that they go in the house.
Yeah, you know what? Let's even go crazier. I wanted a scene where they're walking through the mansion. They walk past a mirror, and the reflection is PS1 graphics. You know what? Why not?
Or just don't have a reflection. We couldn't load it in.
You just get Leon's PS1 character model walking through. Yeah, they made Resident Evil 2 for the Nintendo 64 as well. And it was very, very, very much hampered. It was like really bad textures and stuff. But yeah, so this movie, do we want to recap it?
Let's do like
just talk about more things?
Bulleted list.
Okay.
I
you
will
got
say
Claire
one thing,
Redfield.
one thing on my head though, before I forget, there was one part where the liquor is coming, but we don't know it's coming. But I do like that you see the lights, coming towards them, kind of like moving, and then the one zombie girls was Lisa there was telling them to shh.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good scene.
They're blind.
I just remembered it, and before I forget it, I wanted to.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Well, there's a few parts in this movie where like, and this isn't crazy subversion of the horror genre. Every horror movie and every thriller, scary movie does this nowadays too. But like the misdirection of where the jump scare is going to come from, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The lights are moving, and he's looking up, and then he looks over and sees something else that's scary. So like that's where like the dog comes out of a different window, like a lot of that type of stuff. That I saw, and I'm like, well, you know what? Even though this isn't like this bold, creative thing anymore, the idea of not literally doing what you would expect, I appreciate that they're there because it's at least a little bit of story, a little bit of like, not storytelling. Like a little bit of craftsmanship, I guess, and just
I thought
taking care into
overall,
it.
especially in the first half, that there was a lot of cool like editing done, like horror, like because like horror, like I said, horror relies a lot on sound, but also relies a lot on editing. Like you can easily make something look real fake or make something not scary based off how you cut it. And there was a lot of good cuts in this film that I thought were perfectly done to like add that spookiness. Like when Claire gets to her brother's house and trying to get in, like just that. The creepy people sitting on their side, and they looked fucked up, and like they keep hinting at it that they're like, okay, maybe these people will be happening. Like they're going to come later, but like the way they just did it, I thought was well done. But they kept cutting at the right time, showing just enough of them,
right?
Cutting back, or later on when she's, looking out, like she's the one lady's in the back writing on the window. Like you think that the kid's gonna jump out, and then he doesn't. Like you said, I thought that was just good. Like definitely just You know, it's been done before doesn't mean it's not good. You know what I mean? Like it.
Right.
I think if anything,
Right.
it's boring when like the jump scare you're expecting happens. Like no,
For
if you're
sure.
gonna do a jump scare, fake me out, or do it when they least expect it. No music cues or anything. Just like boom, there's a jump scare. But yeah, I really liked that whole scene too. But let's go
I like
through
the editing too of Chris Redfield's flashlight. It doesn't work on his guns, and so only light you get in the scene where he's being attacked by so many zombies is from muzzle flashes until he runs out of bullets. I like that as well.
I think it went on a little too long. Maybe it's just for me. I don't have epilepsy or anything, but I can get nauseous when there's like flashing lights for like a weird, especially in a dark room where you don't see anything else but the light. It can, for me, it like gets really like slow mo a little bit. I don't know if maybe that is epilepsy, but like I've had issues with like haunted houses before.
That's just
like,
called being a baby.
Yeah, but no, I thought it was good. I thought like I wasn't expecting that, and I thought it was a clever idea to throw in there, and I'm glad they did it. But I just wish it was like a hair shorter because I was just like, whoa, okay, I need to like I needed to like look away for a little bit because I was a little just caught off guard. That's my issue with like metal shows sometimes. Some of these metal bands, they'll just do strobe lights the entire set, and I'm like, it's dark in here. I like your music. I want to see you play it, but I can't look at it if you're just doing strobe lights for 45 minutes. It just fucks me up after a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So just an overall recap, and we'll just see where this conversation takes us. You know, we're opening up with I believe Claire in a truck. She's heading towards Raccoon City to find her brother Chris. I guess she ran away 5 years ago. But they're old enough. I don't know they didn't really say what she had done before running away. So I'm a bit confused.
They say later they ask her like what she did, and she's loading up the guns, and Leon's like, how'd you learn how to do that? She's like, oh, I've had to survive on my own. So it's kind of just like she grew up in them streets, I guess.
And I'm hopping around here. Some of this stuff might not be in, storyboard order.
Yeah, because the beginning I think was the orphanage.
Yeah, that's true. Because we hop back and forth to there a lot. There's actually a part where you see our bad scientist rich guy at his house when the alarm first goes off and the daughter wakes up. I thought that was a flashback as well. It didn't dawn on me that wasn't Claire, because I'm like, what did that little kid look like? She looks the same. Is it the same person? Is this just a different before the orphanage? This is her parents? But so that one caught me. I didn't quite understand it. But then we also have Leon, who's waking up for his, I guess, first day of the job on the night shift. Just living in a motel, which I'm sure is cheap because no one lives in Raccoon City anymore. I don't know if it's his
first day, but it's like definitely like his first month there. Maybe that's why he doesn't have a house yet. Is that because they mentioned that like, oh, his father was a cop or something, and like he did such a bad job at wherever he was previously, they sent him here. So maybe he doesn't he doesn't see himself being here long, or he just got here and like he doesn't have a house yet because they just sent him. Kind of, I don't know. He
does get introduced to Jill Valentine though, which makes me think that he doesn't know any of these people.
But the way they were kind of like picking on him made it seem like this isn't the first time, because the way like he reacts when they first come in the diner, those two cops on duty or whatever.
Oh,
he's like, oh fuck, like shit, like they're here, almost like as if this has happened before. So I feel like it's like the first couple days, but whatever. Sure.
Yeah. In any case, yes. And he's basically just already over it. We don't really get to see one of my issues, and this is not necessarily me picking on Leon too much, but I guess everyone but maybe Claire, is that I just don't really feel too much for these characters, and it's partially because I don't really know too much about them. Why does this guy still want to be a cop? What drew him to being in the force? Why? You know what I mean?
Wasn't like
what does he want?
His whole thing in the games was that like he really does believe in like duty and like
just being a helpful person,
a good person, like trying to really like help people. Yeah.
He says at some points this is why.
There's also hints in the game that suggest that like the other cops don't see it that way. They kind of just or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they kind of tease him. I remember there was like notes being like to the rookie. I remember there was like notes about like how, just differences in policing, but
yeah.
ACAB.
And yes, all cops are bastards. So ACAB ELK, except Leon Kennedy.
Yeah,
He was the only one
really
that's
he
not
was
a
only a
bastard.
cop for like a day,
A day, yeah.
so it doesn't really count.
And he never got paid for it, so let's be real. If you don't get paid for it, you're not a professional. He's not a cop.
He's a vigilante.
Exactly. He went to the. No one even said hi to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, didn't he get like a text or whatever it was? Like I forgot the original reason he was even going there. Right? Was it just for his first day?
Yeah, it was his first day. One, I think it's a difference. I'm just going to assume it is a difference between the game universe and this film. Umbrella left Raccoon City.
Umbrella was still
and I'm
there,
pretty
wasn't
sure that they were like, it was still a functioning town, city.
it was also more of a city than what this was. This felt like a rural, like town in the mountains or near a river, like in Pennsylvania, like kind of vibe
near the Poconos.
Yeah, near the Poconos. Than a like when in the games, Raccoon City feels more like still in a boring state, but like definitely like more than like 1,000 people live here. Like at least I would say like closer to 100,000. You know what I mean? Like definitely like, hey, we have a state government building level of like, There's like literally not skyscrapers, but like at least 5-story buildings. At least I remember in the game throughout.
Yeah,
this definitely felt more like maybe like 300 people live here.
Yeah,
well, even maybe less so with like them leaving.
I do like that the movie, when it pulls back and shows Raccoon City, just does the text blurb explanation about what's going on, what Raccoon City is.
That was very video gamey too, in a way.
Yeah, for sure. And it just feels old, in quotes, like, like, again, I mentioned earlier about like too afraid to do the video game. Well, I feel like a lot of movies nowadays are too afraid to have your exposition be just things that the people are supposed to read. You got to throw that in there organically. Have a character say, "So, Leon Kennedy, what made you come to this poor town that Raccoon City got abandoned by Umbrella?" You know what I mean? Like, it's always like this hacky, like an exposition dump. Well, here it is literally just a half a paragraph, ... and the people too poor to leave. I like when they throw that. I'm like, yeah, that's true. That is, these people don't care about those people.
I don't know who says it, but it's mentioned at some point that, like, who are you going to sell your houses to? Like,
yeah.
Some people are like, why don't you just leave? Or like, who are you going to sell your house to? Like, that's
Aquaman?
why they're Aquaman. Is this going to be people that, just either they get a different job there or, they're poor and they're like, well, what am I going to do? So.
Yeah. Fates intertwine as these two work on their way through their collective goals, and the zombie outbreak happens pretty quickly. And this one, it seemed like it was more of just like everyone's got it because it's in the water, and over time it's been just additive and additive and additive.
They did this because I think it hits close to home in IRL, like shit, like in Flint, Michigan. Still, by the way, thanks Obama. Or when he drank water in Flint, Michigan, so the water's great.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, he did that once.
Damn.
And I'm pretty sure it's why the Democrats lost Michigan the last couple runs. But no, I like this because it is true. Like these corporations in these towns, whether they stay there or not, poison towns, and like nothing is done about it. Really, like the shit in Flint, Michigan, still happening. DuPont, the company that's made every fucking thing you can think of in the world, like your plastic and whatnot. Like there's one movie, Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo, talks about this real life case where this lawyer who usually defends DuPont found out that like they were poisoning this town, and like when he tried to like bring it up, and like he was constantly being, told him to hush, and eventually did bring it up, and like it's just about the case about that, and like there's still cases to this day from that case about what DuPont did just this one town. But there's like reports that say that like DuPont has poisoned like almost 90% of the human population.
Jesus.
Yeah, and like got away with it, and like all they're doing is paying fines. But the thing is, like, people are like, okay, well, maybe they didn't know. No, they knew. They literally knew that like some of the chemicals that they were dropping in the water were giving women like breast cancer. in the town. Definitely a movie I'd recommend, but like that during this whole part where we're finding out it's in the water, and it really like hit me because I'm like, I just watched that movie a couple years ago, and with the corporations always doing shit for profits and not really caring about what it does to the towns that they're in, I feel like that really resonated with me, and I feel like it's realistic. And like, because I feel like Resident Evil, at least the older ones, are very anti like big corp, like low key. I mean, that's literally what Umbrella's, pharmaceutical, but they're doing shit on the side, experimenting. Obviously, it's fiction.
They got fingers in every single industry type of thing.
But I mean, I don't understand, like, it's fiction, but you can still pull from it and see symbolism there. And I'm glad that they had this in it, because to me, that's a part of Resident Evil as well, is that, like, hey, what are these corporations doing in these towns besides just having people work there? Like, there's what's going on. So I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah. We get lots of Claire flashbacks as a kid, creepy orphanage, they're experimenting on people, yada yada yada. She has a brother. She actually does meet Chris Redfield pretty early on in this movie, and he's like, I gotta go to work, don't touch my bike. And then she takes the bike and leaves after she's attacked. Leon is on the job. He meets all of the people that would then go to the mansion, and they all go to the mansion. We mentioned them already. You have the asshole police chief person. I feel like I knew him from somewhere. But
I'm sure he was in... Let me see if I can find him.
In something. I do like, by the way, that guy leaves and realizes that he can't, and then he comes back.
Yeah.
Like, I would have expected him to be just gone and dead. But he's stuck around a lot longer than I expected, so that when they did kill him off, I'm like, oh yeah, it was probably about time that they got rid of him.
Donald Logue plays him, and he's in Blade, he's in Reindeer Games, so he's in a lot of like 2000s movies. Are we doing The Shadows? He's in the TV series there.
Oh, with Haley Joel Osment.
Gotham. He was in the Cloverfield Paradox, maybe that's where you saw him.
Oh, okay. I liked that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in a lot of TV shows, Law & Order, Vikings, Sons of Anarchy, Copper. Yeah, he's been in a lot of shit. A lot of TV shows, mostly.
Okay. I like / hate that Leon is just constantly being treated like a dumbass to everyone, which obviously is warranted because he's a rookie that shot his partner in the ass and doesn't even know what he's doing, I guess.
I forgot to talk about it's kind of in this time here where like he goes to watch the jail cell or whatever, or no, he has to go there. I forgot why they go down there, but the one like conspiracy theorist guy is in the cage, which is very similar to Resident Evil 2.
Right.
Instead of him being taken by Mr. X, he's killed by the zombie in there, which looked real creepy, by the way. At one part where he's like, they had the angle like on his side and him holding the gun. And then like it was just like the perfect amount of shadow where it's like the zombie's like half its face was just like sitting there. I thought that was real cool.
Yeah. They threw him in that holding cell because he knew too much.
Classic.
Yep, and he imparts just enough to Leon to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit before he dies. Everyone gets guns and stuff. There is a entrance or a secret passage from the orphanage that they need to go to that will lead them to the mansion.
Yeah.
The mansion. Because the other crew, they land at the mansion. They're doing Resident Evil 1 stuff. There's a Jill sandwich reference at the diner earlier. I wish that they had just the balls to just do the original Jill sandwich joke in the first game and just try to pull it off. It's like she's about to get like squished or something, and Chris is like, wow, Jill, you almost became a Jill sandwich. And it's really corny and bad in the game. I'm a sucker for like trying to just, you know what, just fucking do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
feel like the dialogue was pretty solid in this movie, and I think they definitely played that line of cheesiness, but not making it too cheesy. I feel like that would have pushed it a little bit too cheesy. It would have been it's like a famous thing, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I
remember this is
it would have been funny.
More general audiences too, so like if they threw that in there, we don't want people to be like, what? It's awful. But I guess
as our mansion crew explore the mansion, their pilot, whatever his name is playing Snake on his phone, which I thought was cute. I wonder how many younger people seeing that have no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, wow, phones are so ancient. He can't even read numbers on it. They're going through fourth guy, which his name is Richard, which I don't know if he was from any of the games or not. I don't think so. He kicks the bucket. I had a feeling that, like, gee, you have all these named characters and then Richard's going to die, you know?
Yeah.
Then Wesker, who has that PDA he found in his locker from, spoiler alert, Ada Wong, the end of the credits thing there. God, I had to pee so bad. If you didn't tell me that there was a mid-credits thing, I wouldn't have seen it because I would have left. All of us walked out of that theater like single-minded focused, like zombies heading towards the restroom.
Wow, so much symbolism.
I know.
Metaphors
I like cut
there.
people in line getting their tickets. I just
Who's really
push it
the
out of the
Resident
way.
Evil?
I know. Who's a real biohazard? Yeah, Wesker has been following instructions. Why is he playing this piano? It opens up a door. The helicopter crashes in. He's been betraying them, but
I was kind of bummed there is no Mr. X. I thought that'd been real cool if, like,
yeah,
he just popped out of nowhere, just like in the game, and they have no explanation for it. All of a sudden, they're just chasing him.
yeah. Maybe that was an idea, but maybe they realized, hey, this might be too much because we also want to have our other big scary monster type of thing. You know,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know.
I mean, they did have I forgot the name of it, but yeah, the main monster,
The G virus
man
thing. Yeah.
because like at one point Chris fights him like in the same kind of looking area that Leon does in the game, that like pipe steam area, and I thought that was cool. I'm like that, like they had that scene there. I'm like, okay, I see you. Once again, they pulled from levels in the game but made it their own. They didn't do direct layout of it like copy and paste. They did their own take on it, had it fit with their story, and they had a different character this time to kind of play on it a little bit. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Jill decides not to chase after Wesker. She goes back, finds Chris, and then they also hopping around a bit because eventually Leon and Claire, they go through the orphanage. Just police chief kicks the bucket. They CG his legs dangling from the ceiling. I thought that was pretty obvious, but I didn't really care. They fight the liquor. I'm surprised they didn't do anything about trying to blind it. If you didn't catch the finger to the lips, meaning, hey, it can hear you. You knew that it also can't see you, you know. But whatever. There was a trophy in that remake for using a flashbang right at its face. Yeah, they're going through. It's cool that this character, this creature, this Lisa, is just there, and then we move on. You know, it's not like it's like the key to everything.
Yeah,
you know. Claire loses her cool when she finds all these documents about Lisa and what they were doing to the other kids. You know, no one actually got adopted. They just got taken downstairs and harvested or something.
Pretty fucked up. And also fucked up that when the doctor goes down there and with his family, and they're like, they look at the child that's still alive or something like that.
Yeah.
Just sitting there with organs all out, which is probably very painful. Surprised you just don't die of shock, but I think that's part of horror, is that you don't die of shock and you just sit there in pain as your organs are all over the place. But yeah, I like how like they like are shocked about it, but then when what's his name comes in there, they're not like, been like, no, Dad, you're kind of fucked up. Fuck you. Give him this thing. You know what I mean? I'd be like,
why
Dad,
are we here?
Yeah, why are we here? Why does this guy want that thing, Dad? Dad, what the fuck is what do you really do? You know, I just thought that was funny, but it's also, it just felt like video game logic at the same time, so I was like totally okay with it. We're like, whatever.
Wesker kills him in quotes. He gets shot. He shoots the wife after she pulls a gun on him.
I like how he just I thought like something was gonna happen, so that kind of surprised my expectations of. No, yeah, he actually just he didn't even hesitate. He just shot her point blank in the face.
Yeah,
in front of the daughter.
Yep, with the daughter then pulls the gun on him.
Like, hey, he cold-blooded. He really want that money.
Well, I mean, they're also trying to show like he was a cop. He was sick of the boredom of this dying town, his dying career. He wanted out of there, And so this opportunity came along, but he's still like a good guy up until this point. This is the first time he's like literally murdered people. So you could tell, like, at least my impression of it was it just happened. He just needed to do it. He reacted and was like, I just killed someone I didn't
he was
technically
very
need to.
about it. But I just thought it was like kind of funny in the moment that he, like, it's one thing to kill the dad because he shot at you, right? And then he's like, then the wife just quickly grabs a gun and he just bam, he doesn't even think about it. He's like bam, knocks her down. It's like sorry
girl
to your
holds
mom.
the gun. Yeah, the little girl holds the gun up to him, and it looks like he might shoot, but then it looks like she shoots him. But instead, it was Jill that shoots him.
What if they actually went? Like, would that have been like too far for this movie if he actually killed her too?
I mean, it would be like, all right, he is for sure a bad guy now. I mean, his name is Wesker. We know he's a bad guy from the games, but like, you wouldn't be like.
I just thought,
okay, he
if they
could
did that,
come
I would have
back.
been like, damn, they're like really going dark in this movie. Like, it was already kind of dark. Like Resident Evil is dark, and I'm glad they're going dark with this movie. But I'm like, I thought that would have been like a little too far. Like, I was already shocked that they had him killing the wife, especially like on camera too. Like I thought, because there's moments where like they don't show like blood or whatnot, so I was surprised when that happened too.
Yeah. Jill comes in and she shot him, and he's like, I wouldn't have shot you, kid. I promise. You got to go through this tunnel. There's a train or whatever. Everyone's like, okay, cool. When he was like, oh, they're going to level this town. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention, I liked the timer, 1 a.m., 1:55 to 1:45, whatever it was, going through. I liked that. Because, like, on his PDA, it said 6 a.m., the town's going to be wiped, which I assumed nuke. I was surprised it was just literally just like not even earthquake, I guess, just like everything collapses.
Yeah, there's something in the structure of the whole town pretty much that just...
they just broke all the supports, everyone falls and dies.
That poor cow, though.
I know. I was honestly expecting the joke of like it ends right before the cow. I thought that was going to be a joke. No, the cow just gets blown away, like the beginning of.
You could have made a ground beef joke.
Damn, taken away in a tornado like Yellow Brick Road, Wizard of Oz,
or Twister.
I've never seen that.
I saw it a long time ago, so I don't remember any of the plot. I remember being bored as a kid, probably because it's more about the drama and not the actual
the Twister.
The Twister that I thought what the movie was going to be about. I thought it was going to be an unstoppable Twister, and they had to stop Twister.
It's like if you went to go see Jaws, and you think it's about a shark, but instead it's about how the jaw muscle is the strongest muscle in the human body, and blah blah blah. You're like, oh damn. I think is true. I think the jaw muscle is like mass size wise to strength. I think is the strongest.
That's why in like life and death situations, I'm going for the bite.
Okay,
I'm biting that jugular.
I'm going for the handshake. Maybe peace, not war. But whatever. I'm not the monster you are.
I'm not a biohazard like you are.
Exactly. So. Yeah, now I think we just fight Daddy Big G Virus Man again.
Yeah, Boss Man.
They get on the train. They fight him there. The thing's collapsing. They have to walk the rest of it, and we kind of end. But I do want to just say I liked that this movie, the first Resident Evil movie, and Resident Evil 2 the game all end with this fucking train.
Yeah. They like having like that being the escape route. I guess it makes the most sense. I really thought the helicopter was going to be it until
they crash it through.
Yeah, and
then the helicopter does crash into the police station at the beginning of Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I'm also trying to remember too, I'm like, and this is, I'm sure a lot of people would be able to tell me this, even if they've only played a little bit of Resident Evil 1 like I did. But I don't think they arrived at the mansion by helicopter. I thought that they took some sort of vehicle. It's like car or something.
I'm trying to remember because I played an hour of it on the PlayStation Classic Mini there. And I remember in the beginning there's like a long like trailer thing. And if I remember correctly, I think they crash. I think they are in a helicopter and they crash in like a field somewhere.
Okay.
Maybe.
I know Resident
Maybe I'm
Evil
wrong.
0 took place the entire thing on a train, which was crazy. In any case, yes. But yeah, no, I like the look of our giant G virus monster, as I mentioned before.
And they shot him in the eyes, just like in the game.
Yep, yep. And I also like that his actual head is a weakened point, so to speak, as well. I was for sure expecting him to just bite Claire's head off.
Yeah. I was gonna be.
Like-
I honestly would have been bummed if Claire died too, though. Like if that.
Same, but like,
I'm
that's what
glad.
it
Thank God
looked
she
like.
didn't. Yeah, and I thought like,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, they're really just gonna kill her off and then have like Leon be the last one alive. That's what I thought was gonna happen. It was gonna be like Leon, because I remember they joked like earlier in the movie that like, I think Claire says to him like, you need to get your shit together, or else you're not gonna make it out of the night. How it would have been funny, but also been mad if at the same time if like Leon was the last one that gets out of this whole thing.
He's the final girl.
Yeah. So I think it'd been funny that if he did, but I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
I like the fact that just like in the Resident Evil games, that at least that I have played and experienced, like none of them die. They're all still like fine. They were really safe the whole time because it's an action horror game. You know what I mean? They want you to be shooting lots of stuff, especially when you get into 4, 5, and 6. Like those are shooters,
Yeah.
so to speak. Especially 5. 5 is the best-selling one besides 7 and Village. Like 5 was was really not a lot of people really liked it either, but it sold the best of the original kind of set before the kind of rebooting, kind of envisioning what is Resident Evil. But yeah, no, I like the fact that Leon brings out a rocket launcher. He just found it first class. He jokes. Just
I like
on the
how, and I
train.
like that. I don't need like the realism there. Like it's just like, no, this is from the game. As soon as you see him holding it, you're like, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Like you don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need to know where he got it from, because I'm like, I know. Like this is where I think they were smart with this. Is like, yeah, once again they did a balance between, for the people who've never made, this could have been the people's first Resident Evil anything. And honestly, I think it captured
sure.
what Resident Evil is all about, really. And there is some goofiness in Resident Evil where it's like,
yeah.
hey, yeah, you know what? This room works with the chess pieces that you have to
Yeah.
put in this thing. Why? Because
It just does. Yeah.
yeah, and there's no explanation.
And I like that. Like, yeah, you do get the giant weapons in the game. You know what I mean? It isn't just like you have this pistol. Like so many horror games nowadays are just like you can't do shit to the things that are chasing you. You just got to run, or we're gonna give you a pistol and a knife, and that's it. Like, nah, man. Like that's cool and all, but like, give me a game where you're just mowing down all of these.
There's a balance
part,
you can do. Yeah, there's definitely a balance, or you build up to it.
Yeah, there's a part in Resident Evil Village towards the end of the game where you swap from Ethan, the character you play as, to Chris Redfield, and it plays like a Call of Duty like campaigns like level. You're walking through, you have a crew of people going through, they're going to different vantage points. You just have these automated weapons with infinite ammo almost, and you're just mowing all these zombies down. I'm like, I like when for a part of the game it's like this. I like, like make me feel powerful type of stuff.
Yeah. I go back and forth. It really depends. I think part of me, well, the reasons I like the horror games that I like is I like being like, I'm not the one I'm not a badass. I'm just trying to get out of here. Like one of the reasons I love Dead Space is that limited ammo. You do get guns later in the game that make you feel like a badass, but it feels worth it. It feels like you had to do all the things correctly. You know what I mean? I don't like it when it's like right in the beginning where you're like mowing down shit, but I like when it builds up. I think you can do that balance where it is survival, and then there's moments where like, oh hell yeah. I feel like that's a zombie trope. Like in even the movies, right? Is that like characters surviving, and then at one moment characters get a minigun or some shit like that, right? And
Right.
they just mow down hordes of them.
Or like weird chainsaw type of stuff. It's
Yeah.
not practical, but it works in this film.
It's one of the things
to me,
with, like in Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead there, like they're all hiding in this mall the whole time. And then there's at one point that they finally have the balls to go outside and they make this battle bus thing, and it's fucking awesome. So like, and they're the ones that are kicking ass at that point, and I'm like, that's cool. But it took them a little bit to get there.
Resident Evil to me, just as the game series, is not the like, oh shit, you can die at any moment type of thing for me. It maybe if you were bad at playing, sure, but like especially if you're nowadays trying to go back to one of the old ones and you have tank controls and you're just not used to it, sure, as one thing. But to me, it was always just like you're not an action star hero, but like we want this to also be like a fun, thing, and people like shooting zombies. It always felt like a little bit more action than horror.
I think depending more the later ones. I think more than the early ones. I think the early ones are like the tank controls one because that's how they were restricted back then. But it worked out because there's things that chase you. I found like Resident Evil 2 scary because it felt like I'm just a little bit quicker when like the bosses are following, like when Mr. X is following you in the office there, the police office or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this movie overall just captured that energy though, and it's in a movie way, and that's why like I've seen a lot of people saying that they don't like this movie was bad. Might be. But it was Resident Evil.
And I don't care. Yeah. Final thoughts on this movie. Give me your final thoughts.
Yeah, I kind of just said it. Just like, I'm glad this exists. I was worried a little bit because I saw people saying on like Twitter, that movie was shit, blah, 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 blah. Going into it, I'm like, okay, so I'm giving my expectations are a little bit lower because of that. And I tried to avoid any spoilers. So I went in with like kind of I guess lower expectations, but I also have expectations based off the other Resident Evil movies we've seen so far, where it's more just action, and to me it's kind of boring because I feel like other movies have done it better. What they've been doing, we still have two more to go.
We have of the Polyverse, Resident Evil Retribution and Resident Evil: The Final Chapter.
Okay,
but eventually we will also watch the direct-to-video, direct-to-DVD, whatever CG ones that Capcom produced.
Gotcha. But yeah, I mean, like I really like this a lot more in terms of what energy it's bringing compared to those movies. Not saying those other movies are like shit. I have fun with most of them. Some of them I do think are shit, but I just like this a lot more, and I kind of hope they do something with this again. Maybe give it a bigger budget, because I definitely can tell at moments that it was smaller budget, but I think the director had some cool shots in it, had some cool horror tropes in it that I like to see in my horror movies, and it had just a little bit of that wackiness Resident Evil video game energy.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. I'm so glad we got this after getting Monster Hunter.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Capcom's back on the, okay, you guys haven't really completely shit the bed in terms of your movie output.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell Capcom let's do more of this and less of...
Yeah, and they clearly, like, not necessarily teased the sequel with our main cast. They do kind of with the Wesker and Ada Wong stuff, but, like, clearly there's more that they can do that they've set themselves up to do. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't solve the Umbrella situation.
It was like Sonic 2, though, where, like, there's no expectation for a sequel, but we left it there
just in case.
Just in case that we have something to build off of and we have people to get hyped about.
Exactly. Let's test the waters here, and I hope this movie does pretty well because of that. Like we both said, this is our favorite Resident Evil movie that we have seen thus far. I have a feeling it might. The only thing I can think is I'm a sucker for finales to a series. So if Resident Evil: The Final Chapter has her heroically sacrifice herself, or you know what I mean, or she's so old she can't do shit, but she's got to keep fighting. Like, I'm a sucker for that type of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that has the potential. But really, I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting this to be the closest to Resident Evil that we will get for a while.
That's definitely the thing, is that no matter what happens in those other Resident Evil movies, unless they're like going back to Raccoon City, it won't be really Resident Evil. It'll just be action movie set in wherever they want to set it in. That isn't going to be, unless it's like Resident Evil 4 is like that island they're on, which I highly doubt it'll be.
Could be. Who knows? But yes, that has been Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City.
Raccoon 7.
Sorry. Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City, not Resident Weevil. We enjoyed the movie. we recommend you watch it if you are into Resident Evil. You will like, this is one to watch. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can follow the show on Twitter and TikTok at Sonic Movie Show. Right. I am on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely, and Devin is on Twitter at Cursona Fun. Let us know what you thought about Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. My particular showing didn't have a whole lot of people in it, but I didn't see it like prime time.
I should add that real quick that like ours, I saw Black Friday at 2:30 my time, and it wasn't filled, but it was. I would definitely there was more seats filled than there wasn't. And the amount of like the types of people that were there were very interesting. There's definitely like, I would say people in their 40s, but then there's people like our age.
Huh.
But then there was like none in between. It was very weird. I could have sworn there was like a grandpa in the back.
Interesting.
But who like seemed to like really enjoy it. Like after the movie, like I heard him talking as if like he really enjoyed it. So I don't know. maybe Grandpa, he was there. He was in line buying Resident Evil on PlayStation.
They said 1998. I was 35 years old in 1998.
I mean, it's true. He could be close to 60 at this point.
I remember Palm Pilots. I got one when I was at Kodak, and they all made fun of me for it, called me a nerd. I was like one of 10 people in my theater, but I saw it today, day after Black Friday at 1:10 p.m.
So we had afternoon showings. I wish we had like a source or like someone who could tell us like maybe people are listening to this. If you went on opening night on Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving, or if you saw it on Thanksgiving, I guess, let us know how many people were there. Like how big was your crowd? Was it bigger than Sonic?
Let us know. I'm sure a lot of people went to see that Disney movie too, so I think that probably took from it. But in any case, this has been our episode about this movie. Follow us on those places I said. Follow us on Twitter and TikTok. Let us know what you think about the movie. We will see you next week for another episode of the Sonic Movie Show. Hasta luegos. Goodbye.